Nan Hauser pursued nursing some decades ago, but knew her calling was with the sea. Since then, she has been a marine biologist for roughly 30 years, with a primary focus on humpback whales. Few people know more about these elusive creatures. Nan made waves when she became a famous expert on the topic of the great mammal of the deep. Building her career from the bottom up, she became president of the Center for Cetacean Research and Conservation. Of course, she still went out in the field too. When she announced a snorkeling expedition in 2018, Nan got a lot of buzz. After all, she's been featured in numerous films aired on TV channels such as Animal Planet, Discovery Channel, National Geographic, and Smithsonian. It's needless to say that she is a huge figure in the world of life science. She had no idea her career would take a huge turn, one that could have resulted in her death. It was just another dive for Nan, though there was a large film crew present as they were working on a documentary. Soon, they'd have more footage than they'd know what to do with. With decades of experience, Nan always knew to keep her distance from the humpback. As much as she loved them, she was also well aware of the deadly force they possessed. Nan had close calls before. Sometimes the majestic creatures came near, and while the temptation was there to reach out, Nan knew better than to touch. Even with her extensive safety knowledge, that doesn't mean that danger is impossible. Nan and her fellow diver have full control of their movements, even with a camera in hand. That's how they capture such incredible footage themselves. However, there's nothing you can do about the animal's behavior. That dive, the two of them and the crew above saw the strangest and most dangerous behavior from a humpback whale. Keep in mind that Nan and her colleagues were prepared for almost anything, but never expected their animal subject to target the divers. She recalled the giant kept nudging her and had me rolling around his body, really trying to tuck me under his pectoral fin. Nan tried to swim away, but with little success. The marine biologist feared for her life as the whale pushed her about with its fins, closed mouth, and back. For a 50,000-pound mammal, that's a rough ride for the target. The crew above feared the worst. The documentary crew had drones recording additional angles for perspective, but soon after the humpback came after the divers, they shut them off in fear they would record her untimely death. It seemed this expedition would make headlines for all the wrong reasons. The whale repeatedly pushed Nan to the water's surface where, to everyone's relief, she made her escape. They pulled the shell-shocked Hauser aboard the boat. She later admitted, "I've been underwater with whales for 28 years, and this is just really unusual behavior. It's crazy." Fear descended upon them as the whales surfaced along with her, but the gargantuan creature faded away back into the depths. That left everyone wondering, what had really happened and why? Nan soon put the pieces together. As the crew rushed to shore to tend to Nan's wounds, the biologist believed she knew why the whale kept coming after her, and she was grateful for it. In those 10 minutes that felt like hours for her, Nan saw it. There was a deadly shark not too far away. As Nan was being tossed about by the humpback and struggling to escape, she happened, for a moment, to spot another creature off in the distance. Nan could tell exactly what the ocean dweller was by the way it moved. Whales move their tails up and down, while sharks move side to side. Based on those movements, Hauser realized she was dealing with a tiger shark, one of the most deadly. It's been reported that tiger sharks are responsible for more recorded attacks on humans than any other shark, aside from the great white. Nan was well aware of where the danger truly was, and it was not with the humpback whale. Nan was convinced the whale was trying to protect her from the tiger shark. Whales are known to be protective of smaller mammals. They've even been seen shielding seals under pectoral fins to protect them from predators. But never before has there been a recording of a humpback protecting a human, leaving many unconvinced. Some say there's little evidence to prove that Nan's humpback friend was trying to save Nan. There's the question of whether it would have behaved the same way if the shark wasn't there. Scant evidence of this strange behavior leaves a great deal of speculation. Nan still has faith in the humpback. Nan Hauser is well aware of the possibility that she could be wrong, but that doesn't stop her from believing. She and her colleagues hope that the footage they were able to capture expands research and awareness of such actions from whales. One thing for certain is there is more to learn. For Nan, the experience has been enlightening. She admitted, "I've spent the past 28 years protecting whales, and at the moment, I didn't even realize that they were protecting me." To Hauser's point, she's not the only ocean expert who's seen a humpback pull off an extraordinary feat. Like Nan, Michael Fischbach is extremely passionate about wildlife photography. And to feed his passion, he takes a trip with his friends and family every year to focus on photographing various whale species in their natural habitat. He even co-founded the Great Whale Conservancy, which is an organization that focuses on spreading awareness and advocating for these marine creatures. Michael was never afraid to get up close and personal with these behemoths. One Valentine's Day he was on a trip on the Sea of Cortez when he noticed an animal floating alongside his boat at the surface of the water. He was worried that it needed his help. Upon further investigation, Michael and crew realized that the animal was a humpback whale, and she wasn't showing signs of life. It broke his heart to see such a sad sight. Suddenly the whale exhaled loudly through its blowhole. The sound indicated to them that the whale was in grave danger and needed help immediately. Michael grabbed his snorkel and cautiously jumped into the water as seen below. When he swam up to the humpback whale, he saw that the creature was completely entangled in gill net, restricting the use of her fins. Her pectoral fins were tied to the side of her body, and her dorsal fin was entangled. Her tail was even trapped in so much gear that it was weighing her down a full 15 feet under the surface. Michael recalled making eye contact with the whale and thinking, the sight of this large and beautiful creature trapped and so close to death was almost overwhelming. He was able to successfully remove the netting from the dorsal fin, but felt it was too dangerous to continue helping the distressed whale. He only had a small knife, and there was too much material to remove. Michael swam back to the boat to radio for help. He was told that perhaps in an hour someone would be able to reach them, but the news sounded bleak. Michael knew that the whale might not make it if they waited for reinforcements to arrive. He looked to his crew, and everyone knew what had to be done. As quickly and safely as possible, the crew began hauling and cutting the net systematically. They were careful, knowing the whale needed to have the ability to breathe in order to survive the rescue. The crew was able to release one pectoral fin, which gave the whale a sense of freedom. But then she began to pull away and swim off with the net still attached to it. The crew held on tight as the whale pulled them about a half-mile through the Sea of Cortez. Finally, the whale grew tired and the crew quickly began to work again. They knew if they couldn't free her tail, then their efforts would be useless. The crew didn't give up as they continually hauled and cut the gill net as the whale's tail twisted and turned. They struggled with hauling and cutting the remaining net until finally the tail was free. It was no longer weighted down with all of that fishing net. The crew was overjoyed with their success as they cheered and embraced one another. Together they watched the whale swim free. The whale swam about 500 feet from the boat when suddenly she breached high into the air and out of the water. The crew knew she was using this display to express how thankful she really was. They then decided to name her Valentina, since it was Valentine's Day. The show went on for about an hour as the grateful whale stayed close to the surface and by its rescuers. A young child aboard said, "Mommy, I know what she's doing. She's showing us that she is all free." Everyone who saw the whale that day would definitely agree. Michael Fischbach and his team were over the moon to have rescued Valentina that day,